Hello, this is AstrologerCoach Sonja Francis, and today we're going to be talking about the upcoming full moon in 18 degrees of Aquarius, which will be exact on August 10th at 2:09 a.m. East Coast time in the US, which is also New York time, and 11:09 a.m. Pacific time, which is West Coast time in the US, which is also LA time. Now, the full moon is always an extroverted time and a relationship-oriented time. We're working something out within our relationship. Something needs to come back into balance between two polarities. And in this case, this is the Leo and the Aquarian polarity, right? Now, at the very end of this video, I'm going to be sharing a little bit about an event that I'm going to be doing at the beginning of November that I'm very excited about. So if you do want to hear a little bit more about that, please stay tuned until the very end, okay? Now let's talk a little bit about the full moon. This full moon is also a supermoon. And we've already had this year several supermoons. And these supermoons generate greater gravitational and electromagnetic pulls towards the Earth. So it also connects to our physical and emotional being, and therefore it affects our psyches more. And these supermoons really help us create a stronger consciousness upgrade because we're more affected by the energy of the moon. We're also more conscious of what's really going on within us. So that's why we're becoming, that's why it's a consciousness upgrade in a sense, right? Now, for the next 2 weeks, we're definitely looking for the balance and integration between the Leo and the Aquarian energy, right? And so I talked 2 weeks ago, I talked a little bit about the Leo energy already in my new moon video. And so the Leo basically, very briefly, is about, expressing our individual light, our unique gifts, our inner spark, connecting to our inner joy and to our heart and being authentic in the moment. And loving ourselves in the moment, right? Now, the Aquarian energy, on the other hand, really has more to do with community. It has to do with connecting with other people in a powerful way, coming together with like-minded people and collaborating in an equal manner and making sure that we're having a common vision or a common goal for the future that we're working towards. And that's very much what the Aquarian energy is all about, right? So you could say that Leo has a lot to do with individual self-expression, and Aquarius has a lot to do with our vision for humankind or for a larger group or a larger cause, right? So how can we achieve that balance, right? That's really the question we want to ask ourselves. And this full moon definitely shows us that it's possible for all of us to bring some change into our lives, to connect to other people, to like-minded people, to help us express our talents more fully, to help us make a difference in our lives and in the lives of others and in the world at large. And so we're really wanting to connect with people that can help us do that. And when we get together with other people, there's a sort of synergy and innovation that arises from that. Just from putting like-minded people in the one room, there's so much more that can occur and that can happen and come out of that than when we're on our own, right? So we're really able to move towards a better future much more faster, and also, a lot of times it also encourages our enthusiasm to do that as well than when we're on our own, right? So the questions we can ask ourselves for this full moon is, what are my special talents? What do I bring to the table? Which is about the Leo energy, right? Then where am I being called to make a difference? Which is about the Aquarian energy. It's about looking into the future and seeing, like, how can I change things? How can I make a difference? And then where are my people that I can find to connect with so I can make that difference quicker and more fully, right? So where are the people in your lives that can really support you with that? And so with this full moon, another thing that's also happening is that it's making a T-square to Saturn in Scorpio. And so that makes Saturn sort of a focus of this full moon as well. So for the next 2 weeks, we're really also being asked to focus on breaking out of some long-standing patterns that we've had that are holding us back. And I'm sure you've heard me say this before, that we need to break away from old things and old patterns. Well, this one is a little bit more connected to deeper emotional patterns, such as fear or motivations that we have for life, or behaviors that we have in life, or attitudes that we have towards life that come from a deep emotional place. So we're really needing to kind of break away from that so that we can move forward and make a difference in our own right, and so that we can also connect to that inner spark more fully. So we're really being asked with this Saturn placement, we're being asked to take responsibility for who we are, especially for how we show up in our relationships and in the world. And it's very much about self-mastery. So it's about really looking at ourselves honestly and with sort of a lens of reality, and saying, okay, who am I? What am I capable of? And can I do this? And can I really connect to myself in an authentic way? It's almost like mastery over our fears, right? With Saturn in Scorpio, our deepest fears. And it's kind of like surrendering to that process more fully through taking responsibility. Now, we want to definitely prioritize. We want to achieve our goals. We want to be dedicated. Discipline and integrity is really big with Saturn as well, of course. And we want to set healthy boundaries in our relationships. Now, I want to talk a little bit about healthy boundaries, because sometimes there's a misunderstanding as to what that is. First of all, because we all have a different idea of what boundaries are. And then also, a lot of us don't really learn about healthy boundaries growing up with our parents or our siblings. There's always a little bit of a blurry line when it comes to these boundaries, right? So healthy boundaries to me are sort of like the ability to not just block things off, which would be sort of like a really harsh boundary. It's kind of like putting up a wall, right? But instead of putting up a wall, to just allow things to come in, and to then look to see once something penetrates and comes into your space, into your private space, right? To see, okay, is that something that's loving towards myself? Is this something that's in line with my values? Is this something that is healthy for me to do or to partake in? And then once we've made that decision, once we've decided that this is in alignment with us, then that's great. But if it's not, then that's when we need to create a healthy boundary for ourselves. So we need to be able to say clearly no to somebody else or to a situation if it's not in alignment with us. Or we need to be able to say, this does not work for me, right? And we need to be able to say it in a way where we're taking care of ourselves, rather than that we're getting annoyed at the other person for asking us to set a boundary. Because very often, other people have different boundaries than we do. Other people have different values. They have different things that work for them. And so we have to just take responsibility for what it is that works for us, and what we value. Sorry, what we value. That's hard to say for me. And so then once we can do that, then we can really create a healthy boundary that doesn't come out of defensiveness, or doesn't come out in an angry way, but where we're just saying neutrally, this is what I need to do for me, because this is what works for me in a loving way, right? And so the other thing too that's important to remember is that if someone cannot honor our boundaries once we communicate them, once we're being very clear about that something doesn't work for us, and the other person doesn't honor that, then we really only have the choice to remove ourselves from the relationship or from the situation until that person is ready to honor our boundaries, right? So the two things that are important to remember with boundaries is to let stuff in first, to evaluate whether that's for us or not for us, to clearly communicate in a neutral way what works for us and what doesn't. And if that doesn't work, then we need to remove ourselves from the situation. So those are kind of the steps. Now, of course, the more we can tap into our own values and what's important to us, and the more we can tap into what's loving towards ourselves, what's in alignment with us, the easier this process will be. So it's also important, of course, to also know what are my values and what works for me and what doesn't, right? Like truly, not in terms of our conditioning and what we think we should be in alignment with, but really what is in alignment with us, right? So the question you can ask yourself here with the Saturn placement, and I think this is a very important question to ask, is where do I still give my power away? So are there still areas in your life where you're giving away your power, where you're not clearly stating a healthy boundary with other people, or, you know, at work maybe, or with coworkers, or with your siblings, or in your family, with your parents, or with your children? You know, is there any area of your life, or even with yourself, right? Is there any area of your life where you're not setting a healthy boundary for yourself, where you're not taking care of yourself? And then the other thing that you can ask yourself is, you know, where would I shine my light so that it can truly be seen? You know, because once you've set that healthy boundary, then it's much easier to get more strongly connected to your inner gifts and to shining your light. And where can you let yourself really truly be seen? Because it's also important that we allow ourselves to be seen, right? So the other thing with this full moon, and the last thing I'm going to talk about, is that Uranus, which is the ruler of Aquarius, so that's also a very important planet in this full moon configuration, is in Aries still, and is making a supportive aspect to the Sun and Mercury in Leo. So that is really supportive and helpful for us during these next 2 weeks, because it really helps us to kind of rid ourselves of certain conventions that are no longer working for us. And it's also helping us to find creative solutions to chronic problems that we've been having over the past, 10, 20 years, right? So we're sort of creating a way to really break away from stuff, to break loose, to create more individual freedom within us, to create more self-expression inside of us, and to be really comfortable with doing that, right? To not get so attached to needing to be a particular way in terms of how our society wants to see us, or in terms of how our parents or our siblings or our peers want to see us, but to really kind of like individuate, you know, and say, okay, I need to just express myself. I need to do what I need to do, right? And so this is a very supportive aspect for these next 2 weeks. And so you can really also ask yourself for these next 2 weeks, like, what in my life is calling for a change? You know, what calls me right now, so that I can create that space, that freedom, break away from something, so that I can really more full out express my inner spark and my light that's inside of me, right? And of course, you know, there's always work to be done. We're never really completely at the end of the road, right? This life is a process. It's not a destination, right? So we're really always in the process of moving forward and moving towards you know, a grander vision, or a better future, or a more whole experience of ourselves, and getting more connected to ourselves. So each one of us definitely has the power to do that, and that's very important also to realize with this full moon placement, that we do have the ability to do this, and to just look into our hearts and to just see, where is the strength inside of us, where is the love inside of us that helps us to really open up and connect to this inner spark, and bring that out into the world and make a difference, right? And I think what's really important is to really be able to listen to our inner guidance as much as possible, and not necessarily do what other people tell us to do, not always listen to other people's guidance, or the outer guidance of the world, you know, society, the media, TV, peers, family. You know, there's so many distractions that we can get hooked into, but to really kind of come back to, you know, what resonates with me, what's true for me. So that inner guidance is really important. And, you know, that's also when we're not giving our power away, when we're able to tap into that inner guidance. So if you have 16 to 20 degrees of personal planets, or ascendant, career point, rising sign, MC, in Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, or Scorpio, that this full moon is definitely going to be more potent for you. You're going to feel it much stronger than other people. Of course, all of us are going to experience it somewhere in our chart. And I also, last week, I recorded a class called How to Read My Birth Chart. And it's a video that you can watch for free on YouTube or on my website. So if you want to apply some of the things that I talk about in my videos or that I write about in my weekly blog, then definitely feel free to go and watch that class. You know, it's accessible for everybody. And if you have questions, if you want to get a high-res version of the class, or if you want to get some of the attachments and the documents from the class, then definitely email me at info@astrologercoach.com and just write recording in the subject line, and then I will send you a high-res version and the attachments of the documents. Okay? Now, I want to talk a little bit about, for those of you who are still with me, I want to talk about the event that I'm going to be doing in the beginning of November, November 8th and 9th. It's going to be a whole weekend. And we're going to be doing an astrology course called The Soul's Journey, where we're uncovering the soul purpose through astrology. And I'm very excited about this course because I've done it once before, and it was such a success, and it was so beautiful to watch people really get connected to their own birth charts in that way, in such a deep way. And I'm going to be doing this course in Massachusetts, in Holden, Massachusetts, at Open Lotus Yoga. And the regular fee for this course is $333 for the weekend course, but there will be an early bird special that will be available until September 9th for $280. So if you want to take advantage of the early bird special and you want to come and join us in Massachusetts in November for that whole weekend, then definitely go to my website and purchase the early bird special now. There's only going to be 30 spots available for that course. So once 30 people have signed up, we're going to be closing the registration. So if you want to do that course, definitely go there as soon as you can. There's also going to be more details on the website about the course in terms of, you know, what we're going to be covering each day, in the morning, in the afternoon. And so you get a really great picture of what the course entails. So if you go to my website at AstrologerCoach.com and you click on weekend courses, then that's the place where you can read up on all the beautiful details for this event, okay? So I'm really excited. If you do have any extra questions that are not covered on my website, then definitely feel free to reach out to info@astrologercoach.com and ask away. And I'm always happy to support you, of course. And if you want to do a reading where you want to go a little bit more in depth into your own personal chart, then definitely feel free to reach out for that as well. There is several readings available on my website that you can choose from, and I'm always happy to connect via Skype or via phone and make that happen for you. Okay? So have a fantastic full moon. Go out there and connect to people and find that inner balance between the Leo and the Aquarian energy. And I will be back very soon with another video. This is Astrologer Coach Sonja Francis. Goodbye.